Hi, I'm Matt C and welcome. This is my second video on this channel. I will be getting into some gaming and tech talk during this video and maybe some other stuff. Any feedback is especially helpful, as I mentioned in the last video, so go ahead and let me know what you think. I was told my video and audio during the first video was fine, although I did notice some quality issues, some what looked like color banding and low bitrate artifacts maybe, so I've changed some of my export settings. Hopefully this has resolved these problems. If you haven't yet, you can watch my first video. It goes over some of my YouTube plans for these videos, and I answer some questions I think a new viewer may have. I also wanted to thank everyone that viewed the first video and anyone that gave feedback. Anyone that subbed and liked as well, a big thank you to you. So, you may have noticed I'm currently talking over some gameplay of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I know this is a completely different game from San Andreas, the game I covered in the last, but I feel it's a really chilled out, slower paced game which fits this series of videos quite well. For this reason, I shall be covering it for this second episode. This is a game I really enjoy. It can be quite fun just flying around places I've always wanted to visit, or completely randomly flying around. Today the objective will simply be to complete a flight plan A to B. After I've completed the planned flight, I'll simply take off again and fly around at random, maybe do a barrel roll or other aerobatic maneuvers. There is no Q&A this video, therefore I shall get right into the game talk, starting with some talk on Flight Simulator 2020. Yeah, I have this game on Steam. I've put a fair few hours into it, and the last time I played it properly was, I think, a couple months ago. I did get it around release, but didn't play it till a little while after release, the first time I played it. And it's it's a pretty good game, especially if you're into flying and the flight sims and just flying games in general. It's always quite fun to just fly around somewhere or just at random, because the map of the game is the whole of the earth, so that's quite incredible, really. So you can basically fly anywhere there's an airfield or an airport. Even if there's not, I'm pretty sure you can just plop your plane down or helicopter wherever you want, and just start in the sky or on the ground. Even take off from water with float planes, and I guess float helicopters if there is. I don't think there's one of those in the game yet. But yeah, it's the latest in the series of the flight sim games, and yeah, it is a really quite a good game. Although some people argue it's not a game and it's more of like a simulator, but I'll just refer to it as a game during this video. So I think the average flights I've sort of done have been around an hour long, but I think the longest I've done was just over 2 hours. That may have been a flight I did over part of Japan, I think in the north of Japan. Also did a flight across Iceland, which was quite long. That was really quite cool, both of those flights. Just the views of the game are just really great. I believe they used like photogrammetry and satellite data and things to render all the scenery and buildings and terrain and etc. There's also live weather. You can turn that on or off. You use your own weather settings or have like live weather directly, like the weather where you're actually flying on the earth, which is really cool. But if you don't feel like that, you can just turn that off and just set your own weather settings. There's plenty of settings you can tweak with that. Plenty of planes as well to try, and some helicopters. I've mostly flown the prop planes, and I tried a couple jets, including one of the tutorial jets. That was quite interesting. But yeah, mostly so far playing, I've mainly done prop propeller aircraft, and also helicopter. That was quite fun. I think there's only 2 in the game at the moment, compared to about 30 or 40 planes, depending on the edition of the game you have. The 2 helicopters. The helicopters are quite fun. Yeah, was just enjoying flying the helicopter like around the terrain and things. It's quite fun, especially on the coast. You can like follow the coast with the helicopter. That's quite fun, and try and be careful and not hit the sea, hit the water. I think I plan on doing a helicopter flight around like the Himalayas. I think that would be really cool, up towards Mount Everest. Maybe I'll cover that and use that as footage for a future video, doing like a helicopter flight. But I have mostly just flown prop planes from airport to airport generally. So if you're into that sort of thing, just flying, and usually be flying and listening to something on YouTube or a podcast or something. So that's quite cool. Very chilled out like that. You can just fly and listen to things. There's also like tutorials if you've never played them before, and obviously you can use mouse and keyboard. I use a Xbox controller, but maybe in the future I might get like a full setup for it. I don't know. Not anytime soon, but the controller's fine. Yeah, if you've never played any of them before, you can use controllers. And there's tutorials, so they go through everything really. They're pretty helpful. So yeah, as I said earlier, there's about 30 or 40 planes depending on the edition you have, and they range from small like props to larger turboprops and jets and like airliners. So there's quite a bit of variety in Flight Simulator 2020, and obviously a lot of variety in the world, the map, because it's the whole of the Earth basically modelled to varying degrees of quality. The game is quite a large install size. I think when it was released, I think it was about 150 gig, but now if you want all the updates and all the they do a thing called a world and a sim update, where the world updates, they add more detail to a specific part of the world, like world update USA, they added stuff to certain cities, and sim updates are, I think, more like features added to the game and bug fixes and things. So they do them alternatively, I believe. But yeah, with all those now, I think the game's stretched out to 200 gig install size. So it's, as far as I can tell, the biggest game install size that I know of, certainly that I've played. I know Call of Duty, like the newest ones, are pretty high, like over 100 gig. But yeah, this is, I think, the biggest game, possibly. Performance-wise, it runs relatively well. It's quite a demanding game. It's generally okay on my system. I did, which is a 7900X and a 3080. But I did have previous to this, I had a 9700K and a 1070 Ti. I actually replaced the 1070 Ti with the 3080 before I played Flight Simulator with it. So with the 9700K and the 3080, it seemed to run fine. Like the 9700K handled it, 60 FPS, okay. But yeah, I think you could definitely. I'm pretty sure you can run it. I've seen reviews of people run it with lower end hardware. You just got to tweak the settings a bit. I think in the beginning the performance was considerably worse, but now as far as I can tell, it seems fairly okay on my current system. There is actually also a bot, talking about going back to the install size. There is actually a boxed version of this. I think it's got 6 discs. It's either 6 or 8. I'm pretty sure it's 6. So I'm guessing that's like the launch size. So it's probably 150 gig or so, and you probably still have to download the rest when you install the game. But I just thought that was really, really wild that there's a boxed version with 6 discs. Have a look at it. Look it up on Google. It's pretty cool. But I don't have that version. Just play it straight through Steam. You can also get it through Xbox, the Xbox app. It's also on consoles, which is quite interesting. On the Series X and S. I don't think it's on the Xbox One. No, so I've just checked. It's just Windows and the Series X and S. But I haven't played it on any console. It's only been PC that I've played it on. And I've also played a few of the other older flight sim games. I remember playing Flight Simulator 2004. I think it was titled A Century of Flight. And I still actually have randomly another physical copy of that lying around somewhere from years ago that I found. I remember vaguely playing it on like my old like family PC years and years ago. I remember flying around and I didn't really know as much what was going on at the time, but still it was okay from what I remember back then. Back in like must have been 2004, 5, 6. I remember back then you could get like the like boxed little like expansions you could buy from like off eBay or off like a specific like mod site, and they would give you like you'd come posted to you in a box with a disc, and you'd install expansion aircraft. Like I had the SR-71, the Blackbird. I remember that flying it around in Flight Simulator 2004, and I remember getting like a World War II expansion disc which added like World War II like jets and props and things. So that was quite cool back then. Now obviously you just download them off the straight off the mod sites and things. But yeah, I remember having fun back then playing it. Now you can obviously mod Flight Simulator 2020, but there's also like a store when you load up the game if you want to buy stuff with stuff on deal and things from like developers that specifically mod for the game. So that's quite cool. After that, the only other one I've played is Flight Simulator X, which is the one that came after 2004 and before the latest one, 2020. There was quite a big gap between Flight Simulator X and 2020. I think that came out in 2006 or 7. Yeah, pretty sure 2006. Played that a bit on Steam, not as much as the latest one or 2004, but I remember that being okay. It's just updated, like a few years updated after Flight Simulator 2004. So I actually remember I was playing that on my 1070 Ti, and that was obviously fine, as you can imagine, a card that was like more than 10 years nearer to its release date. But yeah, that was a fairly decent game. But Flight Simulator 2020 is just like a massive update and overhaul to the whole series. Quite incredible, really. There, as I mentioned earlier, there's much older games, but I haven't played any of the others. I've watched videos on them, but not played any of the pre-2004 ones. There is so Flight Simulator 1, so that's Flight Simulator 1.0, which I'm pretty sure is how it's exactly titled. But some of them were titled 1.0, 2.0. That released back in November 1982, and if you haven't seen that one or the first few, I'd check it on YouTube. It's actually quite wild seeing how far it's come from. It's like just lines, and then moves to like polygonal lines, and as they progress over the years, and it's pretty wild, really, just seeing how it's changed from Flight Simulator 1 to Flight Simulator 2020. So Flight Simulator 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0 plus 5.1, and then you got Flight Simulator 95, and this moving into like the first 3D ones, and Flight Simulator 95, Flight Simulator 98, Flight Simulator 2000, 2002, and then the one I played originally, Flight Simulator 2004, A Century of Flight, and Flight Simulator X, and finally Flight Simulator 2020. But yeah, if you haven't seen any of the old ones, go check them out on YouTube. It's pretty cool, pretty interesting games. I think the only way to play the pre Flight Simulator X ones is by getting them as the box versions or the discs. If you did want to play them, I don't know how compatible they are with like Windows 10 and 11, but go give it a try if you want. Well, I'm sure you could probably find like playthroughs of them if you really wanted to just watch people flying around on the older ones. But yeah, it's generally really quite an interesting series of games. They are published by Xbox Game Studios, but developed. At least the latest one, sorry, is published by Xbox Game Studios and developed by Asobo Studios. And they've done a pretty good job, I think, with it. It really is a really good, really great game. The detail is pretty wild, pretty crazy. So if you've never played any flight games or flight sim games, you could always start with 2020, or you can get Flight Simulator X, as well, which is usually goes pretty cheap on Steam. I bought it years ago on Steam on deal. They're probably both okay to start with, especially Flight Simulator 2020. There are other flight sim games, but like more military based ones, and some that do kind of compete with Flight Simulator. If you're interested, you can check them out on Steam. Just type in Flight Simulators, and the genre should all come up. There is also multiplayer. I don't know if the older ones have, but Flight Simulator X and Flight Simulator 2020 actually have multiplayer. I think the Flight Simulator X servers are still up. I'm not quite sure, but the flight you can have just fly around the world and go into the settings and set as I think it's somewhere in one of the settings somewhere to be like always online or something like that, like online persistence. And yeah, you can actually bump into other players that are flying around randomly, so that's quite cool. And I'm pretty sure you can play it with friends if you wanted to. It's quite an interesting. I think there's a mod for Flight Simulator X where people could be like air traffic controllers, which is there's some videos on it on YouTube. A guy called Air Force Proud 95. He's got some pretty comical videos on Flight Simulator X. I think it's also a mod now for possibly for Flight Simulator 2020. So maybe check his channel, Air Force Proud 95, if you want to see some interesting Flight Simulator videos. Yeah, it's a really great game. Check out some videos on it and see what you think. I'll probably cover it more in the future. Maybe have it as a background for some videos where I'm just generally talking about games and tech. Where I'm just covering general stuff because it's quite a good, I think, video just to have if you did want to watch or check on the video while you're listening. It's quite a cool game just because of the look of it, the sort of scenery and things. And I think now I'm going to move into some more game topic stuff, including some current stuff I've been playing, and that'll tie into some stuff I've played over the past couple months. I've actually been playing Rainbow Six Vegas 1 and 2. I went through Vegas 1 and Vegas 2. I used to play mostly Vegas 2 years ago on Xbox 360. But I went back through 1 recently, which I think I played a bit of years ago, but not much. I played a lot of Vegas 2. Used to play that on 360, yeah, quite a lot. I think I got to max level, like elite on that game. But yeah, they still hold up pretty well. They're like the only thing like that, really, kind of. I know there's Rainbow Six Siege, but it's like completely different. It's just like straight up FPS, while Vegas 1 and 2 are like cover based and an FPS where you switch perspective in cover. No, really are quite good games, especially the second one. I much prefer the second one. But yeah, you can customize your character. You can be male or female, and you just customize basically everything about them. There was even a feature back in the day where you could, if you had like an Xbox cam, I don't know if it was possible with PC as well, but it would take like a photo of your face and try and plant it on the model of the character you made. So I don't think that service is still available, not that I could tell, when I was playing it and going through the menus. But that's quite an interesting thing. I've seen it in a couple of games, like the FIFA games, I think, allow that as well. But yeah, the Vegas 1 and 2 are pretty unique. I'll probably talk more about Vegas 2, but it's yeah, there's so much customization, and you level up different ranks of stuff like marksman, close quarters, and like assault stuff, which unlock you new weapons. Generally, new weapons and XP to level your character, and then also you get a lot of equipment, like a lot of military and like law enforcement equipment, like different body armors, like legs, arms. You can change all that. Shoulders, yeah, helmet. You can just have a hat or just nothing covering your head. You can change all the clothing underneath, and you can also, so you unlock all that from leveling up, and you also unlock camos. There's a load of camos, and if you get to elite, then you can make your own custom camos, which is pretty cool. I remember unlocking that back in the day. I didn't do it this time because it would take a while, but I'll be still playing the game, I think, for a little while, just just enjoying going back to it. I really enjoyed it back in the day. I used to play it with a group of friends. It was really great. Also, there's loads of weapons in the game. Loads of different assault rifles, submachine guns, shotguns, pistols, the usual that you think about with a shooting game. Also, you get like a riot shield, which is quite cool, and you have that in one hand, and then a pistol in the other, so you can shoot around it. It's quite effective, and pistols are really quite good in the game. Actually, you wouldn't think they were that great, but they're actually I quite enjoy using them. And getting into sort of the stories of them, they're based around like attacks, like terrorist type, like insurgent attacks around Vegas, so, and the like surrounding areas. So that's quite interesting. And you have to sort of thwart their plans, so it's pretty cool. But generally, the gameplay is you and a group. You have two like AI controlled, or if you co-op, you obviously have another person with you. But generally, two AI controlled characters. They help out. They're generally okay, not brilliant, but you can assign them what to do, like to breach into a room with flashbangs, or a frag grenade, or breaching charges to blow the door. You can get them to throw smokes and like aim it where you want it, and you press the button for it, and they'll do that. And it's funny enough, they're depending on what your camo you've chose for your character, they will change their camos as well. So that's quite cool. But other than that, you can't change any of their stuff. You can swap them between like aggressive and like quiet stances, like sort of stealth, if you don't want them to fire without being fired upon. And they will actually swap weapons to like something that's silenced and something that's not. So that's quite cool. There's quite a few mechanics with them. And generally the games are quite hard. I went through both of them on realistic recently, and Vegas 1, it was real struggle. I found it. Maybe I'm just not as good as I used to be, but Vegas 2 was quite a struggle to get through on realistic, and Vegas 1 was a struggle to get through on realistic. And Vegas 2 wasn't as bad, but it was still, some points they were it was quite a struggle, but not quite as bad as number 1. The enemies are generally, they'll on realistic, that like the snipers can one shot you, and the like just the other regular gunmen, they can kill you in 1 or 2 shots in realistic, and they are like sometimes like pinpoint accurate. Like you just walk around the corner and bang, you're gone. It is quite brutal sometimes. On standard, it's considerably easier actually. It's quite a jump between standard and realistic. Like realistic can be really brutal, and standard and the lowest difficulty can be like considerably easier. And yeah, as I said, they still hold up pretty well today. And I've played quite a few of the Tom, because these are based on the books, I think, by Tom Clancy. So you may have seen the Tom Clancy in a game. That would be generally, it's based on his books. So they're Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Vegas 1 and 2, and then you've got I played quite a few different Tom Clancy's games. I do quite enjoy them. You got Ghost Recon, Advanced Warfighter, the older Ghost Recon games, and actually the older Rainbow Six games, which I haven't played. I haven't played the oldest Ghost Recon games, but Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 1 and 2, they're pretty good. I prefer 2 over 1, but they can be quite hard as well on the highest difficulty. Made a video on them actually in the future. And then you've got Ghost Recon Wildlands, which I really did love. Wildlands, it was really good. I thought it's completely open world. So Wildlands is set in Bolivia. So that's quite interesting. It's got plenty of different like biomes you can go through. It's really cool, like the high mountains all the way down to like salt flats, sort of low altitude desert. So it's really quite cool. Really good game. And I haven't played Breakpoint. I know on release it got pretty poor reviews, certainly compared to Wildlands, but I haven't looked into it recently, and maybe I'll give it a try. It's in like a fictional map. It's not like a real sort of type place. But yeah, I just heard it wasn't that great. A lot of issues with like the cash store and stuff, like paying for things, and I think general performance issues. I'm pretty sure. But check out a review on those games. Maybe definitely, I'd say Wildlands is considerably better from what I've seen. But I may try Breakpoint at some point. As I mentioned, actually going back to Rainbow Six games with Siege, I played quite a bit of Siege years ago. I haven't played it in a few years, but that's also it's like it's kind of like a spin-off, I guess, of um into the sort of it's like a bit like Counter Strike, I guess, like a competitive shooter. But I played it quite a bit, but I don't play it anymore. Maybe I'll try again. Then you've got like the other Tom Clancy's games, like a game like End War and the Splinter Cell games. Played quite a bit of End War back on the 360. That was I really did enjoy End War actually. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you can get it on Steam, so I might actually get that at some point. Play through that again because I quite liked it. And the Splinter Cell games, I played through the first Splinter Cell. Did really enjoy that, but I haven't played any of the others. I've actually got all three of the original trilogy of them, and I think I'll go for them at some point as well. They're quite good. So there's the original Tom Clancy Splinter Cell, then there's Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow, and then Chaos Theory. So I'll probably go through them at one point. The only one I have played through though is can't remember if I completed or not, but it was a while ago. It was the first one. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll be covered in the future. Maybe some of the other Tom Clancy's games. I think that's the majority of them that I can remember. Yeah, they're all pretty good. And there's newer Splinter Cells actually. I forgot to mention, but I haven't played any of the newest ones. Another game actually I started playing recently. I got recommended it a while ago. Was Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, which funny enough, playing it recently, and I was thinking to myself, oh, this would be really great if they had a sequel, or if it had a sequel, and yeah, funny enough, the latest PlayStation showcase, they actually revealed Dragon's Dogma 2, so that's really quite cool. They revealed it at their PlayStation showcase, like a trailer for it, so that looked pretty good. I'm really happy about that. But yeah, I've been playing through that recently. It does, yeah, I'm really quite liking it. Feels like it takes a bit of time to get off the ground with it. It's a bit doesn't hold your hand too much, which is quite cool. And you sort of go around the map and do the usual RPG stuff, so that's really quite interesting. Check that out. Check reviews on that. That's really quite a good game. Another game. I keep saying another game. I want to cover in the future. So see what happens with that later. I'm gonna get into some talk about like isometric type games, RPGs like the ARPGs. Just because I recently have not played any ARPGs or like the isometric RPG except for Titan Quest Anniversary Edition on Steam. So yeah, that's the only games like sort of similar, I guess, that I've played to like Diablos and things. I guess they are quite different. But, yeah, played through, but didn't complete that. Played a few hours of that on Steam. But funny enough, I actually did have I remember buying a physical copy of that when I was a kid when it came out, or maybe a while after it came out, and it didn't run. It didn't work on like the old family PC. It wasn't powerful enough. Funny enough, it ran Flight Simulator 2004, but it didn't run. Didn't run Titan Quest for some reason. So I ended up having to return that. Vaguely remember that. And then played it again all these years later. So that was interesting. But yeah, I bought Diablo 2 Resurrected. So I'm gonna play through that at some point. But I've never really played any of these games. So I really want to get into them. In fact, got Resurrected with Diablo 3 as like a deal. And the plan, I would like to play the first one as well. I've seen videos on the first and second one, like the original. So I've always really liked the look of them, but just never played them. And obviously Diablo 4's coming out as well. So see how that goes. See how that goes. I think it's later this year. Sorry, I said later this year. I've just put a cut in just to check. It's actually June 6th. So like 2 weeks. didn't realize. So yeah, that would be interesting. On release, I'll probably go into a bit of detail, maybe of how that fared on release, how that looks okay. So hopefully it'll be all right. But you never know these days. But yeah, so I plan on playing through Diablo 2 Resurrected then, I guess, at some point. Not sure when, but really too. Also, I do have Divinity Original Sin 2 and Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire on Steam, which are other like isometric like RPGs, really quite in depth from what I've seen from reviews and watching videos of them. So I want to play through all them as well. You also got Baldur's Gate 3 coming out at some point, which you can actually play in early access at the moment on Steam, but I haven't bought it. But yeah, the Baldur's Gate's like a long run in series of games. They're yeah, isometric again, are really in depth RPGs, so that'd be cool. Try that. I've got a friend of mine who's played like a lot of these isometric RPGs, and he's talked to me about them. And yeah, it's really something I'd like to get into because he really enjoys. And it seems like it's funny. I've just never got into any of them properly. I've always sort of looked at them from a distance, but never actually got in and played one. So I do really want to. I think I'll probably start with Diablo, but maybe also more one of the more like the actual RPG ones, like Divinity and things. So yeah, see how that goes. And yeah, I was going to say if anyone recommends any, just yeah, drop a comment and let me know any sort of isometric RPGs or action RPGs that you think I might want to try. I'm guessing Diablo 2 Resurrected is a good one to start with, just to sort of see. I know I played Titan Quest, but didn't really play a massive amount of it, so we'll probably end up playing properly all the way through the next one that I play. So yeah, if there's any you recommend, just let me know. I know there's like so many of them. Like I think there's Planescape games as well. I've heard good things about them, and the many others I've heard good things about. Yeah, that's mainly why I wanted to talk about them, just because I bought Diablo, yeah, 2 Resurrected on deal, so I thought it'd be a good just game topic to talk about them. I know they're quite long games as well, a lot of them, especially been told the Divinity games and like Baldur's Gate and Pillars of Eternity are really in depth, like really in depth and long games. So that'll be fun to just get into and just spend some time with one of them and just see how I go. Love the look of like the customization and the skills and things and like all the mechanics. The for like especially from what I've seen from Divinity Original Sin 2, that looks like quite the game I would quite enjoy. But yeah, and I know they're completely different, really. Diablo series and like Diablo series and Divinity, and they're fairly different, I think, but they're still like isometric. Unless I'm getting that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right. And maybe I'll have a friend of mine to come on in the future and talk about them. That would be quite cool. Maybe when I've played one of them through, in the future. And yeah, if Diablo 4 is pretty good and I enjoy the second and third one, I'll give the third one a try as well, since I got that as well with Diablo 2. Yeah, try the fourth one at some point. I know there was Diablo Mobile. I don't know what that's like right now, but there was a big meme around that when it was released about the guy at the at BlizzCon, I think it was, saying it is this a bad April Fool's joke or out of season April Fool's joke, and one of the producers or someone high up in the development or publishing of the game replied, "Do you not have phones?" or something along those lines, and it became like a big thing at the time. And as far as I know, yeah, Diablo mobile, yeah, it's not very well received. I've heard of people like spending tens of thousands of dollars in it. I just think that's just I don't know, just completely wild. Like I couldn't imagine doing that. So there's a few controversies with that game. So hopefully they don't like have any more have any like serious issues with Diablo 4, because that would be really rough. Well, from what I've seen, it looks really cool. Really like the style of it. So yeah, we'll just have to see, and when that's released, maybe I'll go into a bit of talk on that. But yeah, that would be quite interesting. And yeah, I think I'll move on to some more game stuff. So I think the next video as well, bring this up now, will be on War Thunder. So that's a game I've played a fair bit of. So that'll be, I think I'll cover that because of the recent ongoing controversy stuff. So I'll go into a little bit of that next. So yeah, the sort of issues with War Thunder at the moment. So there's been like economy changes and updates and things by the developer Gaijin Entertainment. So there's been review bombing and things because of a number of issues the developer has caused from updating the game and messing with like the economy in game. But I think I go into more detail in the next episode. But there's content creators like Ash, Fly Daily, Tankenstein, and Tim's Variety. They all do some pretty good videos on it on the game, and they've also done some on like the controversial stuff. So I will go into that more and discuss some stuff in episode 3. So just because I thought it'd be a good time, and I've played quite a lot of War Thunder. Started playing it a few years ago, but I'll leave that to the next episode, and get into that another time. Also, bring this up actually as well. Overwatch 2. I've not played the Overwatch games. I've watched a bit of them, but that had it's PvP only, I believe, and they had cancelled. They had planned like a PV. I think players were asking for like a PVE mode, a PVE hero mode, but that actually got cancelled. So that's another. There's a bit of outrage about that. Like the players are rightfully outraged, and then Activision Blizzard ended up apologising because they had originally promised, I believe, to do it at some point in the near future after release, and then that was cancelled. So that's another just bad thing with games going on. Also got quite like the Lord of the Rings sort of like all the just like the films, and some of the games I've played I really like. I've been meaning to play some of the older games as well. And so the Lord of the Rings Gollum has, I think it's releasing May 25th. So so actually it is releasing today. But I've heard some concerning stuff about it. I watched review on it. It like before release I had some concerning stuff, but I watched a review of it by Skill Up. He usually does well, he does pretty good reviews, and it looked pretty bad from what I could tell. Really quite shocking. But I think let that settle for a few days, and I'll just see how, because it's literally releasing today. So get some player feedback as well, and like on Steam reviews and things. I'll watch a couple more videos and probably go into that quite a bit more detail in the future, because I do really like the Lord of the Rings, the whole world and things. So that's a bit disappointing because it sounds like it's going to be pretty bad. Go into that more in episode 3. And there was also the PlayStation showcase, which I watched. Watched a bit of that. And the coverage of it. Watched through the Laymen Dailies video on that. I think it's called the Layman Daily Show now. But watch through that. Some things I thought were really cool was Dragon's Dogma 2, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be great, because I just got really I'm quite liking the first one. So we'll see how that turns out. You also and any spoiler, just like a spoiler warning, I will talk about these games briefly. So if you want to watch the thing, go ahead and watch it. But I'll be just for the next couple minutes just talking about the games that were showed there. And so you've got Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater remake. So that'll be quite interesting. I played I think that's I've played the latest one, Phantom Pain. Actually, I played through most of that. And I played a little bit of Snake Eater a while ago on like PS2. I didn't complete it, but I played through. I really quite enjoyed Phantom Pain. That was quite a cool game, quite interesting game. The game's by Konami, so we'll see how that goes. I know Konami have had a bit of a rough few years, I believe, but hopefully that Snake Eater remake will be pretty good. And then Assassin's Creed Mirage was released, so that looks cool. Another Assassin's Creed. I've got Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I haven't played that yet. I've been planning on buying Valhalla just to try that. But I did play through Origins actually, and I really quite liked Origins. The sort of Egyptian theme to it was really quite cool. Set at a time when the Greeks and who had ruled Egypt for a while at that time, I think, the Greeks and the Romans are sort of squabbling over control of Egypt, and there's like a whole backstory to things, and you've got like the Egyptian people fighting back and things, and that's quite a cool game. But yeah, I really enjoyed the gameplay of that. That was really quite a good game. I thought Origins. I also played the older Assassin's Creed, like Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, and yeah, sort of the older ones. I would like to go back through them at some point. That'll be cool in the future. And I think I'll probably cover Origins as well at some point, and maybe Odyssey and Valhalla when I play them. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Mirage. Let's just see how it goes. I know Ubisoft of another company that have had a bit of a rough time with things they've done. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. And then we got Spider-Man 2. So not the original PS2, but so they did Spider-Man for the PS4. I'm pretty sure you can play them on the PS5. And then they did Spider-Man Miles Morales, like a spin-off sort of. And now Spider-Man 2, and I actually played through Spider-Man 1, the Spider-Man, the PS4 one. Bought that on PS4 and played through it. It's a really good game. I thought it definitely held up to the original PS2, which I think there was a number of Spider-Man games, but they never lived up to the original on PS2, Spider-Man 2 on PS2. And I think this one definitely does. It's a really great game. Really good game. It's on Steam now as well on PC, so you can play it on there. Or I've got the disc copy on PS4. So yeah, they're good. Definitely cover the Spider-Man games in the future. I remember playing the PS1 games vaguely, and then the PS2 Spider-Man 1 and 2 on PS2, and yeah, Spider-Man, the newer ones would be cool. Probably not the sort of the ones that weren't so great in between those, but yeah, we'll cover all that. And there were a few other games, a few indie games and things at the PlayStation Showcase. But yeah, go watch that if you're interested. It seemed like quite a big event, but highlights were definitely for me were Dragon's Dogma 2 and Spider-Man 2, and also got a bit of interest with the Snake Eater remake and Assassin's Creed Mirage. So see how those turn out when they're released in the future. And I think I shall now move into the tech topics. There might be some game stuff I talk about, but it'll mostly be tech stuff from the rest of the video, I would imagine. So yeah, I'll start with Asus, the motherboard sort of issues I brought up last week. So I think Gigabyte had issues as well. So you got Asus and Gigabyte. They released statements regarding the issues, and as far as I can tell, the motherboard BIOS issues are mostly resolved through the BIOS updates. So hopefully they fix these issues, but maybe check before you do. I haven't updated mine yet, but as far as I can tell, it's okay. So I'm probably going to, but yeah, definitely look into it. Yeah, just please check before updating. And there's a Gamers Nexus video which I shall link in the description. Just going over all of it. It's quite an interesting video actually. He ended up talking to like a lawyer, I think it was, or an attorney rather, which he had. It was quite interesting actually. Listen to him talk about it. But yeah, so Steve at Games Nexus and the team went over that, so I'll link that in the video. And yeah, so basically Asus has said the beta and fully validated BIOS updates are all covered under warranty. So that was one of the reasons I didn't sort of go ahead and update at the time, because I was a bit concerned about the wording they had on their page. So I just decided just to wait and just see, and everything seemed okay with my PC. But just I think I'll be updating the BIOS soon, and yeah, hopefully there's no more issues. It's just real pain when something like this comes up. And then we'll move into the next videos. These are next next tech little topic bit. And this is mostly regarding Nvidia, but also AMD as well, Radeon. So you got the release of the RTX 4060 8 GB, and then which will be coming in July, and then you got the RTX 4060 Ti 8 and 16 variants. The 8 GB is, I think it was released yesterday, so which would be May 24th, and the 16 GB, like the 4060, coming in sometime in July. So yeah, we'll see what happens with those, the ones that haven't been released yet. But I think generally the 4060 Ti 8 GB has been fairly poorly received by reviewers, mostly regarding its pricing. I think they were hoping it would be cheaper than that. So I think it's the 4060 Ti 8 GB starts at 400 USD, and I think from what I've looked, it's about 390 pounds. So yeah, that's a bit rough. And I think the 4060 Ti 16 GB edition, you're paying an extra 100, roughly, GBP and USD on top of the 8 GB. So that's going to be 500 at release. So you're probably looking around about the same in pounds, maybe 10-20 pound off, 480, 490, something like that. And I did actually look into the pricing for the 4060 Ti 8 GB, and the cheapest models were coming in at £390. But there were some higher end models, I say higher end, but they were at £480, and I was just like, that is quite a lot. I think that's the most expensive at that point. The most expensive 40, sort of the 60 class cards they've ever released. So I'd imagine the Ti, the 16 GB version, is going to be pushing almost up to the 4070 in price potentially, which is pretty poor. I think because the 4070 is about 30% faster or so than the 60 Ti, 20-30% faster. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of money for that. Yeah, it's quite wild, really. Another big issue, I think, not just the pricing, but it seems like the 4060 Ti, now this is just the 8 GB, because we ain't got the reviews for the 16 GB, but as far as I know, its core config and everything is identical between the 8 and 6 GB variants. So yeah, they should be pretty similar unless you hit the VRAM limits. But yeah, it seems like barely an improvement over the 3060 Ti, which isn't great at all, really. I think you're looking at just about 10%. The 4060 Ti 8 GB is about 10% faster than the 3060 Ti, which is also 8 GB, about 10% faster at 1080p. You're looking at under 10% faster, or around 10%, maybe a bit under, at 1440p, and they're almost neck and neck, maybe a couple percent faster in 4K. So I would think you'd be generation on generation be expecting more performance uplift than that. I think the 3080 to 4080 was something like 40+% improvement, 40-50% improvement game to game. So yeah, 10, maybe a bit more than 10% at best is not great. The 4060 Ti seemed to have some issues in the newest AAA games as well. I think Hardware Unboxed went into that as well, but also I watched the Hardware Unboxed, Gamers Nexus, and Linus Tech Tips reviews on the card. So yeah, they all have similar opinion that it's sort of mixed. It's really not great, especially for the price. Like, it should have probably been across the range, like $50 cheaper, I think, at least. But yeah, it's not. So maybe in a few months. I mean, I'll talk about this a bit later, but you're looking at some prices of GPUs, the 40 series and 7000 Radeons, coming down a little bit. But yeah, I think if this doesn't sell too well, then it's probably going to come down in price. Not sure about the AIBs though. I guess they will as well. And in board cards like MSI and Asus, like they're probably gonna, I would imagine, come down if they don't sell too many. But yeah, it just seems like a lot of money for that tier of GPU. So I was just especially shocked with the 4060 Ti 8 gig that there was some that were like £480 when I checked one of the local retailers here in the UK. So yeah, that's not great. Not great for I think probably most people are gonna not be willing to pay that, but you never know. We'll see. But yeah, I'll link the videos to the reviews I watched in the description on the 4060 Ti, and I'll probably do another update when the 4060 Ti 16 gig comes out. I doubt there'll be much of a difference performance-wise, considering it's basically the same, just more VRAM. So it'll be very game dependent with that higher VRAM, I would imagine. And I'll probably mention the 4060 when that comes out in some time. Also going on to AMD and Radeon, their series 7000 series of cards, which up until now was just the 7900 XTX and XT. We've now got the RX 7600, which I guess is a successor to the 6600, but it sort of seems maybe more of a successor to the 6700, but I'm not sure. Performance-wise, it looks a bit like that, but maybe not. So the RX 7600 is 8 gigs of VRAM, but it has more of an improvement over like the previous card, the 6600, compared to the 4060 over the 4060 Ti over the 3060 Ti. It's like the 7600 is, I think, like it's like a tier below the 4060 Ti, but it's approximately 20% faster than the 6600 at 1080p, about 10 to 15% faster at 1440p, and around 10%, maybe a bit under, faster in 4K. This is compared to the 6600, the 7600 compared to the 6600. And these are reviews I watched again from Hardware Unboxed, Games Nexus, Linus, and Wendell at Level 1 Tech. So they're all pretty good reviewers. Great watch. And talking about the older, the 3060 Ti, it's about 10 to 15% slower, I think, across the board than the 3060 Ti, the 7600 is. Originally, I think it was going to be priced at $300. But they made like a last minute change. Games Nexus actually speaks of this in his review, so check that out. But yeah, the recent price change cut $30 off it, so you're looking at 270. So pounds wise, when it's released, we're looking at probably 260, 250. But going by ARB prices, they'll probably be in the £300 range, $300+ range. So yeah, they'll be generally more expensive, and usually play a premium for them. But yeah, maybe I'll cover the pricing on them on some of these cards in the future a bit more. And yeah, go check out all the videos. I'm gonna link if you want to. But I think generally overall, since the release of the 40 series from Nvidia and the 7000 series from AMD on their Radeon division, the prices, I think they've come down a little bit. Like the 4080, I think, can be found for $50 to $100 or pounds under the MSRP. I think the 4090s roughly stayed the same, maybe a little drop. Then you got like the 4070 Ti and the 4070s. They've dropped I think a tiny bit, but generally they've stayed the same. But they're sort of newer. And I think the 4070 performs similar to a 3080 10 gig. It's got 12 gig. It's 4070 12 gig. So yeah, that performs around about the same as that, but I think it's much more efficient. So that's one one good thing about it. Much less like power draw. I think the 3080 pulls about 300-ish watts, and the 4070 pulls just over 200. So that's quite good, but I think it performs fairly similar. So not worth it for me to. It's a bit of a side grade if I was to buy that. But I don't plan on it. And then the Radeon, the equivalent Radeon cards, the ones that have released so far, the 7900 XTX and the 7900 XT. The XTX, I think it's dropped a little bit, but not a much. Like you're still looking at around 1,000 USD for one of those cards, especially the AIBs again. And the XT, I think it started at MSRP of 900, but from what I've seen from videos, it had I've heard it's had issues selling compared to the other model, the XTX model. So it's only $100 cheaper. So I guess why not spend if you're going to pay it that much, pay around the $1,000 pound mark. I guess that's depending person by person, but I guess you probably would rather just spend the extra 100 or ish for an extra. I think it's like 20% more performance around there. So yeah, depends really. But I think because the sales have been more poor on the XT, the prices have dropped. I think when I looked, it dropped to about $800, and similar in pounds, but not dropped quite as much. And so that'll be interesting. And yeah, the 4090, the 7900 XX is 24 gig of VRAM, and the 7900 XT is actually 20 gig. So that's interesting. But yeah, maybe I'll update some stuff on these in the future, or yeah, go to Hardware Unboxed. Usually does some pretty good GPU pricing update videos. I think they do them. Tim at Hardware Unboxed does them monthly, I believe. So yeah, they're usually a good watch. But yeah, most of these prices I generally check a site called PC Part Picker. So check that site out. I'll link that as well, just in case you've never been there before, or just check it on Google. They're usually quite good. I keep up to date on pricing on that site for things. Just got parts on there that I'm interested in, or keeping an eye on pricing and things. They do all sorts at PC Part Picker, even displays, monitors, GPUs, CPUs, power supplies, storage, RAM/memory, and peripherals as well. Actually, they do all peripherals, but yeah, GPUs is the main thing I look at on there generally. GPUs and storage. It's interesting just to see how prices are like go up and down over the month, and how much I would have saved if I had maybe waited an extra month or two. So that's always great. And you can also, what's really great about that site is you can also like spec out a build and just get the pricing wise of it, and it'll like sort of guide you to if you're missing any parts in your build, and will it all fit together, and it will give you notes and things on compatibility issues and things. So I've been using them. I used them for my last PC and this one, but not my older PCs. Don't know if it was around back when I built my sort of 2014 PC. I didn't know about it back then. But yeah, my last PC and this PC, I used them. So yeah, they're really, really great site, actually. Oh, cases as well. They do all you can check all cases and specs of cases on there as well. So that's good. And it will link to, and for all these parts, it will link to all the retailers. So yeah, it's just a generally great site for keeping an eye on pricing and sometimes new products as well. I mean, the 4060 Ti 8 gig had just released, and they had it up on the site with UK pricing already, and so that's great. They do a real good job there. And you can also save your like completed builds and post them on there, and like people can comment on your build, and you can take photos and display stuff. So that's quite cool. I haven't done that with anything I've built, but I've got my like saved builds on there and things. of my main PC and like my older sort of like retro computer things and stuff just saved on there. And it's cool just every now and then just to build a computer on there and just just see how it sort of pricing wise how it all fits together and things, and that's quite cool. And it's not just like the newest parts on there. They have parts going back years and years. I'll probably talk about this in the future, but I built like a retro Windows XP PC, and for with like old parts I had lying around from years ago, and I went on there and sort of put the build together on there before I did it, and still had like the details on the parts I used, like the old CPUs and things, and there's a Core 2 Duo E8400 I got in there, and an old GeForce 8800 GTS and 320 meg, and it it still had all the details of stuff from like the old stuff from back then, so that's interesting. If you want to get into that, it still has all the data on those things. And it's quite funny as well. Sometimes you see people on Amazon, because it links out to Amazon and other retailers, and sometimes you see people like trying to sell on Amazon really old like CPUs, where you could go to like a store like CX and pick it up for like a fiver or a tenner, and there's people like selling like the E8400, the E8400 for like 40-50 pounds, and you're like, what on earth? There's this person thinking they must not know about the pricing. Because obviously that isn't new anymore. It's the only place you can buy them is generally off of eBay or physically like somewhere like CEX. So yeah, that's a bit random, funny thing about the site, and old GPUs as well, like GT 710s and things, which are basically just display outs for like a media computer or something, like an old office computer, and people still selling them new. So that's interesting if you're interested in that, like older stuff. Yeah, and I think next I'll move on to some topics about the final topic, sort of tech topic, I think, will be about Linus Tech Tips and Linus Media Group. So Linus is, I think this was a week or so ago, Linus has sort of put a video out saying that he is stepping down as CEO of Linus Media Group. So that's he's been there for years. I've been watching Linus Tech Tips for, I don't know, probably since, maybe I watched some of his videos back in like 2013 or 14, but I didn't properly start watching him and didn't sub to him and things till probably 2018, something like that. I've been watching him like watch like a lot of his videos, most of his videos since then. So yeah, he's been around for a while. Was with NCIX Tech Tips before, which I think was his old employer before Linus Tech Tips. But yeah, he's stepping down as CEO, but he is continuing as the Chief Vision Officer at Linus Media Group. So he's still going to appear in all the videos he's scripted to appear in. But he said, yeah, he's not going to step away from videos and things. He just wants to chill out a bit more. So that's good for him. He's a great guy. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how Linus Tech Tips goes, and the other YouTube channels and things they've got going. Yeah, it'd be interesting to keep an eye on that. And he went into a bit more detail in his WAN show, that his podcast that he does with Luke, another member of Linus Media Group, who actually runs the Floatplane, their like video service. So yeah, they were talking about it. That was quite interesting. Him going into more detail about it. And the funny enough, he's actually the new CEO, he revealed, is his old boss from NCIX, a guy by the name of Terran Tong. So that'll be that'll be cool to see. He'll be taking over Linus's previous role. So yeah, see how that plays out. Yeah, do really enjoy Linus Tech Tips. So, and Linus, yeah, it's great. Yeah, I hope the best for him and the channel and everyone. So That's yeah, that's really cool. And check out some of their videos if you haven't. It's all, yeah, I probably should mention this earlier, but if you haven't watched it, it's all just PC tech stuff generally, and just very random stuff as well regarding tech. Like Linus will do videos on tech around his home and things, and also gaming tech. Like they did reviews for the recent GPUs and everything. They've been doing that for a long time. So if you're interested in all that sort of stuff, he yeah, he's great. His channel is a great watch, and him is yeah, really cool. And yeah, I think that's the end of the tech topics. I wanted to cover something I found quite interesting actually, which isn't related to tech or anything, but a bit of a side sort of current event thing maybe. So the oldest dog in the world actually celebrated his birthday on May the 11th. I only saw the articles about it recently, and he was actually 31 years old. His name is Bobby, I believe, and he's a Raffiero do Alentejo. I believe you pronounce that. I'm not quite sure. He's Portuguese, so he's from Portugal. Yeah, celebrated his birthday on the May the 11th, which I didn't realize a dog could live to 31 years old. Yeah, I was a bit shocked by it, really. If you asked me how long do you think a dog could live, I'd say maybe 20, 21. But like max, if someone said, like, how long do you think the oldest dog is? I probably would have said 20, 21. But yeah, 10 years older than what I would have guessed. So yeah, that's that's pretty interesting. But just thought I'd throw that in there as a bit of a random side sort of talking point. So maybe more of these in the future. We'll have to see. But yeah, let me know if you want to hear any more random things like that. I'm sure there'll be plenty in the upcoming videos. Maybe. And yeah, we're coming to the end of the video now, so I will just say, yeah, if you wanted to give feedback, you know how to do it. Like, dislike, or comment. That's any of it, any feedback is much appreciated. And if you enjoyed the video and commentary, feel free to subscribe. This will, as I mentioned before, just indicate that people enjoy my stuff, which is great. And yeah, that means a lot. It's great. Great to know people are liking listening to what I have to say. And as I said before, I'd end these with a quote. This quote is going to be quite a it's just a quick little phrase quote, but yeah, so unless you wanted me to quote one of the instructors in the game, Flight Simulator, uh yeah, Flight Simulator 2020 doesn't really have anything that I can quote as far as I can tell, or any other game in the series. So just pick another game that's somewhat related, I guess, but not really related game, but I don't know. So did this about maybe it's got flying in it, but not simulation flying like this. So somewhat related, but not really. And I'll be quoting Peppy Hare from the N64 game, Star Fox 64. Do a barrel roll. Sounded nothing like him, but that's okay, I guess. Anyway, yeah, thanks for listening to and watching my video. And I will be back again with another upload soon.